know what you want. You want to see the movie.
Fun fact I learned the other day on the internet, speaking of things on the internet, I learned that your lips are made of the same type of substance that your butthole's made out of.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just one long tube.
I didn't know that.
Wait.
Did you guys know that?
Lips
Yeah.
are the same as balls?
Butthole.
Butthole.
Oh, butthole.
But what are you doing? Is that your butthole face?
Yeah, and that's a little pink deuce.
Yeah, duh. It's
Off
like
to
someone
a great
just
start.
it's like someone
fuck is
swallowed a whole
wrong
bunch
with
of
you?
bubble gum.
What is wrong with you? Although, let me tell you.
And it's about as much hair, too.
Let me
Oh,
tell you, because I never, it has been a long time, gentlemen, since I sat down to watch a movie or watch anything and gone, oh, that person is dropping a deuce on the floor. Okay. And it wasn't until we watched tonight's movie that I was reminded of how horrified I was of one night where Brandon and I were on Kazaa trying to outgross each other, and there was a camera set up right up against a butthole that just started opening, and we both went, no, and we clicked away.
That was the Wild West, man. The Wild West.
It was
Back in those LimeWire days.
the LimeWire, Kazaa. It truly was a free-for-all of content on the internet.
More like Lyme disease wire.
Wow.
Oh!
Hey, do you guys think that if you injected that over and over again, you'd get 60% more Lyme disease into a person?
Hey, that sounds like a cool thing.
Because I don't think
Yeah.
they were. I don't think they were doing that. In what we're about to get into. Are we ready? Are we ready to do that?
Are we getting the wheels going on this flaming dumpster fire?
Let's get into it.
On
Let's
this
get
here-
let's get in the car. Put the hose in the window. We'll turn the car on, and we're all just gonna sit in the garage until we pass the fuck out.
Yep.
And right off to Valhalla.
That's
yes,
right.
all of us together. I assume that's how we're all going to die.
Yeah,
But I'm
together
assuming
in
we're
a
gonna be-
car.
Yeah, with from carbon monoxide poisoning. But I'm assuming something's going to be playing on the radio, or we're going to be singing a song. What song is that going to be, gentlemen?
It's
that we're all to black listening to.
it's November Rain.
Why?
Ooh,
So you have to listen
That's
to
a rough
the cold November rain. See, do you really
Yeah,
listen?
because
Do you want your final feeling to be the voice of rock music that you hate the most?
if I'm in a situation where I'm sitting in a garage with a hose in the window with the car on, I figured I want to make this as miserable as possible.
That
So-
makes no
see, I don't
sense
know.
to me.
Put on
Yeah.
some Axl Rose and, like I said, right off to Valhalla.
I'm gonna die
No,
to the
it's-
Breaking
it's
Bad
either-
theme.
Hey,
Alright.
I got something. Let's keep in theme with this bummer movie.
Bummer movie.
And what does everyone want? What song does everyone want played at their funeral?
I've thought about this, and I don't know if I have a good answer, because they're all either smart-ass answers or like legitimate ones that have already been done too much.
Is one of yours "Take This Job and Shove It"?
Now it is. If there's one song that encompasses me as a person,
It's take the job and shove it.
well, Megan already called "Lay Me Low" by Nick Cave, or that would have been one of them. But then I think of "Always Look on the Bright Side of Life" from Life of Brian.
That's not bad.
But apparently that's been done a lot, and I'm like,
Well, they did it at Graham Chapman's funeral.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
And then just everybody ran with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's like the most used song, or in like the top 3 or some shit. So I don't know if I could do that, but then I would say Wish You Were Here, but then that's kind of the same thing, and that's a little too bummery for me.
But do you wish we were there? Well, I guess you do. I guess it would be sad.
No, like,
no
you would
one
wish
comes to
I
your
was
funeral
there.
and it's just playing Wish You Were Here.
That song has a whole new meaning.
Yeah, exactly.
does.
I wish it should be called "I Wish Anyone Were Here."
Yeah.
Well, I got my song locked and loaded. I want
What's
you lay me in the ground to Peaches. Fuck the pain away.
Peaches.
Mhm.
All right.
I feel like that song encompasses me. We're good.
Yep.
Brandon?
Yep, I got it. WAP by Cardi B.
All right, you
All
know
right.
what? You know what? Bravo.
Going contemporary.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
have it go down as it says, there's whores in this house. Yeah. Yep.
And there's people holding bagpipes, but they're not playing them.
They're just
There
looking
was-
at each other. We invite the
There's-
Elks Lodge to play bagpipes at your funeral, but only play WAP on repeat.
And they all
Yeah.
just look really put out.
You
All right.
What's wrong, Nick?
Earning that $50 today.
know? Let's blow our sacks, boys.
Whoa. Oh, that's the intro to this
Oh.
podcast now. I know what you want. You want to see the movie. Let's blow our sacks.
Let's blow our sacks, boys.
Blow our sacks, boys. There's some
Uh,
hoes in this house.
There's whores in this house. There's whores
It's
in
that
this
song
house.
in its entirety.
That's the whole
I gotta be
intro.
honest with you. That is one of the best choruses in contemporary music I've heard in a long time.
I haven't heard it, so I
guess
can't
it's not really even the
contribute.
chorus, is it? It's more like the backing vocals.
The sample.
Yeah. Does anybody know what that's sampled from?
No.
No.
Nick, I'm assuming you at least know who Cardi B is.
Yes, I am familiar with Cardi B.
Do you guys think TF Boo is familiar with Cardi B?
Oh boy.
Is he even alive still? I didn't do my research.
No, I believe he is still alive and well.
He is?
So,
Oh, good
all
for
right,
him.
let's wrangle everybody in here and let's close the
Yep.
door and sit in the dark and talk about this movie. All right.
Let's wrangle in
This
these waps.
If you've listened
This-
this far in and you're like, are these fucking assholes going to introduce themselves or not? Welcome back to the Real Obscure Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony, dead forever inside Trevino. And with me, as always, are my beautiful cherubic co-hosts.
Brandon Freeze, and I'm a talking pie. Hi, girlfriend.
And I am Nick Pet Rock.
Is that the last one on the list?
That's I'm now officially at the end. That was the bottom of the barrel I just scraped.
Just crossing it off.
No. No, I literally came up with that 2 minutes before I walked into my closet.
Nick Pet Rock.
I was like, I don't remember which ones I've even done. Like,
That's
did
the
I do
one we're
Nick
gonna-
Rockadoodle? I don't remember.
Well,
So
I
I
think
just went Nick Pet Rock
I
because that
think
was
you-
so stupid. I knew I hadn't done it.
I think you peaked with Big Rock Candy Mountain. Or Nick Rock
Yeah.
Candy Mountain, excuse me. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Big,
a good one.
Big Rock Candy Mountain. That's what he was called in the
Yeah.
joint.
That's what he
Yeah.
was called in
That
the
was my
80s.
prison name,
That was his
which
prison
was
and
ironic
his
because
wrestling
I was
name.
the bitch and my wrestling name. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's how you
Yeah,
said
I
you're going to
forgot
climb
you were
this
in the
Big Rock Candy Mountain, daddy. And then, you had a lot of hot, sweaty prison sex.
Yeah.
Because when you get the sugar crash, you're never gonna get back up. Oh, so human suffering, huh, guys?
Yeah, how about
It's
that? We're going to have a lot of room for jokes in this episode, I'd imagine.
Oh, I got jokes for days. Because
Okay.
today we're talking about 1988's Resident Evil prequel to the Umbrella Corporation.
Oh my God.
Oh, great. It all makes sense.
Oh, wait.
Friday
we're not
night,
doing-
ladies and gentlemen.
If,
We're recording this on a Friday night. We're real loose.
if If the last episode got us canceled, this episode's getting us into hell, like, right away.
We're so worried about it like anybody listens. So today we're talking about the infamous Men Behind the Sun, also known as Black Sun 731 or Man Behind the Sun. And what we're doing here, it's a real kickoff to our mission of finding the most disturbing films out there for the month of Halloween, my dudes.
Shocktober, baby.
Mm-hmm. You could call it Shocktober, Splattober, Extreme-O-Ween, or whatever the hell you like. I don't really care.
I do like Extreme-O-Ween. I kind of want to go with that. I hadn't heard that yet.
If anyone uses anything other than Extreme-O-Ween from now on, I don't acknowledge it.
Yes.
All right, fine.
I think you just, Extreme-O-Ween. Because October, I've heard that before. I'm like,
Yeah.
Splattober, but that doesn't really work. Extreme-O-Ween, man.
That's it.
All right, cool. That's
Nailed
what
it.
we're calling it. October for the Real
All
Absurd
right.
podcast is what, Nick?
Extreme-O-Ween.
And the bottom line
And
is...
now I can use that little audio bit to sample in the beginning for the
Great.
next
You don't need to tell the
episode, so it'll
audience
be like,
that. You don't need to tell the audience or us that.
I want to.
Shut up.
I want to share that.
A peek behind our gilded curtain.
The bottom line is, if it's ugly, we're watching it this month and trying to figure out if these exercises in depravity have any merit, or are the filmmakers just showboating about how gross and crazy they can be.
Woo!
Great, thanks,
All
guys.
that Mountain Dew edge.
Right.
But I do find it a little ironic that, because you said at the very beginning, the notorious film on the obscure podcast. It's a little kind of the other side of that coin.
It's a little contradictory, and I think if people have been listening this long, we play it fast and loose with how we're defining obscure, because this has become a podcast where three buddies just watch whatever the hell they want to watch.
Yep.
Also, I think this movie as a whole is definitely obscure, whereas the certain clips are not.
Certain clips in the mythology built around the film itself. And we'll get into that because I've got a lot to say about it.
Well, I kind of use the people around me as a gauge. Like, Megan has definitely heard of this movie. I mentioned it to my boss, who's a movie guy the way we're movie guys, and he had never heard of it. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's more obscure than I think it is, and it's more because the three of us are so keyed into that type of movie that, of course, we knew about it for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
We know everything.
Yeah.
All the things.
We're omnipotent.
We're basically beyond your Neil deGrasse Tysons, far out in the vast reaches of space, beyond your Neil deGrasse Tysons, beyond your Stephen Hawkings, and whoever else does science that isn't in the popular culture realm. There's us.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Well, okay, I'm not going to say
Steve from Blue's Clues. People that know things.
There's us. Because we've transcended that. Yeah, exactly.
Carl Sagan.
Yes.
We're on our own plane, gentlemen, and that's fine.
Yeah, hey, it's good to be at the top.
Level. Yeah. Good to be the kings. Or the emperors, as you come to find out.
And I very much like the term king.
Uh-huh.
Just saying. All right, cool. Dead air.
No,
got it.
Good.
This is great. Going great, guys.
No, it's great.
This is great. All right, all you cool cats and kittens, sit on down.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
How could you?
That was so sincere.
It was. All right. So a little backstory. T.F. Mu is a Chinese filmmaker and no stranger to controversy. Like a lot of the filmmakers we talk about on the show, he rides his own unique wave. His first film, I Didn't Dare to Tell You, was banned, as was his follow-up, At the Runway's End. From the start, I think it's important to note that Mu hasn't really ever been interested in making movies for media consumption. So take all your ideas about 3-act structure, character development, and you can toss it in a crematorium, dare I say.
Yep. He does not give a shit. Just right out with that structure.
And as he states in the J.L. Carrozza did a documentary called Black Sunshine, Conversations with T.F. Mu, and in it, Mu actually says, hey, I became a filmmaker not to break into the movie business, but because I want to send a message to society and change politics through media.
I wanted to watch that. Is that full length?
It's about an hour and a half.
Sun or whatever. I want to watch that because watching this movie, I'm like, he's definitely fucking saying something. Like, it feels sort of history lesson-y. So he definitely has a purpose behind his movies.
Following his first 2 films, Mu went on to direct a bunch of movies for the Shaw Brothers. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Shaw Brothers at all. No?
I'm
Brandon? Brandon is nodding for a podcast. Thanks.
I said, mm-hmm.
Did you hear it? Mm-hmm. Did you hear it? Mm-hmm,
I heard
Nick?
him.
Oh, did
I
you?
did.
I did not hear it. Mm-hmm. Brandon, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Shaw Brothers? How much have you had to drink or smoke, Brandon?
That doesn't matter. Shaw Brothers are I don't remember.
All right, great. So, I got you. Don't worry about it. The Shaw Brothers are Hong Kong's largest film production company. For them, I don't believe they're operational anymore. And when he joined up with the Shaw Brothers, Mu basically dived headfirst into pumping out exploitation films until directing what we're sitting down to discuss tonight, Men Behind the Sun. Although I'm pretty sure he did a few movies for them after the fact, too. Now, look, I don't want to make... I just want to come out and say this. We're 3 dudes who are not Chinese or Japanese, and none of us are educated in the history of Japan and China. So, like any asshats on the internet, we're going to talk about this movie that's definitely a social commentary about things that were happening at the time.
We've never seen anything close to resembling combat. We have never... I don't know if we fired real guns. I have once.
I've fired real guns several times.
It's important to note that we are 3 soft idiots.
Soft idiots.
What's the difference between a soft idiot and a hard idiot?
Podcast.
A hard idiot is like a brawler, like a real fucking idiot who goes to a bar and gets drunk and starts fights.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so me. Got it.
Yeah, like you. Yeah, that's right. Let's see them pythons, baby.
Yeah.
Here we got these 4-inch pythons, brother.
As I struggle to lift a case of like seltzer water off the ground.
This White Claw's too heavy.
Ugh, that shit tastes terrible, by the way.
That's awful.
It's
if you drink that hard seltzer shit, get Truly. Truly is good.
I've been riding this hard kombucha wave.
God.
I didn't know hard kombucha was the thing.
I almost passed out.
All right.
Alcoholic vinegar. Yummy.
Brandon.
Yummy.
Drunk high Brandon, who's pacing in his bedroom right now. That's a visual gag for 2 people, me, Nick and I.
Almost like it didn't need to be said.
Wow! Shots fired. All right, big man.
I think it's just because he's so tense he has to pace through this whole thing.
Yeah.
He's still got this movie in his blood.
This is all I've done for the past week.
One final fact, and then we're jumping into the movie. I guess that works too.
Yeah.
We're jumping into the movie. One final fact: when Mu went to school to become a filmmaker, the place he went to was the National Taiwan University of Arts, formerly the National Film Arts Institute in Taiwan, and they didn't have enough money to actually have equipment, so they only learned film theory. They learned how to make movies only watching the same movie like repeatedly over and over and over again. And I thought that was kind of an interesting fact.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just throwing it out there. So we open.
This movie definitely has an interesting non-conventional style. So that makes a lot of sense that they come from strictly theory and not a whole lot of actual practice.
Like execution. And one thing that I wanted to say before we dove in about Brandon talking about how he's pacing around his house, and that's what he's been doing all week. That's definitely what I was doing all week. And because every time I went to put on this movie, I was like, ugh, like it was a struggle every time.
Yep.
It just, I think the reputation of it makes you tense without even seeing any of it.
Yeah, the mythology or like kind of the lore built up around it certainly puts you in a certain position going into the film rather than if you didn't know anything about it.
Is
So-
that justified? We'll
Well,
find out.
okay. Yes, thank you, Nick.
You're
we
welcome.
open.
I felt good about
The
that.
Stars team arrives at the mansion. You got Jill Valentine,
It's Redfield.
Barry, because I don't remember his last name.
And then a dog jumps through the window, and it's really scary.
Oh man, Men Behind the Sun, the Sony PlayStation 1 game.
No, just have
Yeah.
him direct the Resident Evil movie. Do it as a
that'd be-
sequel to this.
That'd be sad.
There's actually
Hey.
2 Men Behind the Sun sequels.
I thought there were 3.
I thought there were 2. I thought there were 3 in the series.
I could be wrong. Oh, I thought there were 4. I could be wrong. I might have misread it.
Or you could be right. This was Brandon's
Or it
pick.
could be 3 of those, and then the last one was specifically about the rape of Nanking.
I believe.
So they might not consider that part of the Men Behind the Sun canon. AKA fucking history.
Parade of misery.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, this was your pick, so do us the honors. Let's jump into it.
All right, so this takes place during World War II, and basically it's pretty light on story, but it's Japanese soldiers and the experiments they were conducting on Chinese and Russian prisoners, and basically their whole goal is to make a bubonic plague that's 60 times more deadly than the first one.
Yeah, it's a supposed fictional account of the notorious, infamous, or whatever you want to call it, Unit 731.
Yeah, and
which was an actual horrible, terrifying fucking thing.
And we also periodically throughout the movie follow a small troop of new child soldiers who are probably 10, 11-year-old boys.
The Youth Corps.
And the Youth Corps.
Hardened
And,
children.
Yeah. Oh, are they hardened? And between that, we see what these experiments are. And it is horrifying.
There is also, would you guys consider it a B plot with the young prisoner Specs, who's the only guy with a name I could retain because I'm bad with names as it is. So
yeah.
The kind
prisoners,
of the
you mean? The
the 3 prisoners. There's the guy with the glasses they call Specs, the young boy, and then there's the hard idiot, as Brandon would call him, the brawler guy, who
Yeah, I would call them almost a C plot, because it seems like the A plot is the Youth Corps. The B plot are like the generals with Ishii and everything running the fucking show. And then the C plot would be the prisoners kind of doing what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
And mostly none of it really, besides them all being at this place, they don't really have much to do with one another.
Yeah. They intersect a little bit, but not much.
Yeah. So one of the first things we see is a baby getting buried alive in snow.
Yeah, that happened. So are we doing our traditional breakdown of the whole plot from beginning to end, or are we just kind of giving a generalization and then discussing it?
I suggest we do, because we just gave the plot, we should just go experiment by experiment.
Okay. The highlight reel of Men Behind the Sun.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, God.
Okay. But yeah, that baby.
That baby.
That was the first thing. The thing with this movie is it almost lulls you into a false sense of security. Because sitting down to watch it, I was like, like between my fingers the whole time. And the first 20 to 30 minutes isn't that bad. Like, nothing really. They beat up a homeless Chinese man at the train station. But
a bunch of shit in his mouth.
Yeah, but they almost played that comically, where the guy kind of spits it out and walks away.
That guy pulls a total power move. That guy's like, I don't want your fucking rice cake. Fuck you, and he spits it out.
Mm-hmm.
Power move. I do want to note that when Mu originally pitched this movie, they're like, no, we're on good terms with Japan. We don't want you to make this movie, which is why the text at the start of the film says, what is it? Friendship is friendship, history is history.
Yeah.
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 Which,
Yeah, that's actually that's what opens up the movie is a title card that says that. And I thought that was really interesting.
That is interesting. Side note, though, Japan not stoked about this movie.
no!
They were not happy that this came out.
Interesting.
Yeah, who'd have thought? Good.
So I mean
So go back to the baby. Start with the baby scene.
Sorry, I was trying to look for my note on that baby scene because after they basically throw it and leave it to freeze to death, they say something.
Yeah.
They're like, "What is this? It's kind of a waste." And he says something.
One of them
says,
"Hey, we're not supposed to waste testing materials like that." And the other one goes, "Oh, that one can still be mounted and stuffed. It won't go."
Yeah.
And that's kind of.
And you see that baby later. I don't know if you guys noticed.
Oh, I did notice. They put it in front of her
yeah.
when they're freezing her arms.
No, that was a pillow.
Oh,
that wasn't the baby.
Oh,
yeah, because she goes crazy in her cell with this pillow, and she's like, "It's my baby, it's my baby." But at the very end, when they're burning it, raising it to the ground, you see that fucking baby on one of those shelves, and it was like, "Ooh, okay."
Oh, I missed that.
Oh no, it's right there.
So I guess we could talk about that. Like the first big experiment scene is them taking a Chinese prisoner, a female Chinese prisoner, out into the middle of this ice field. And they kind of tie her arms out in front of her, like straight out in front of her. And they just start pouring water over her arms until it just freezes her arms.
Yep.
And she's screaming and she's crying, freezing. And every so often, the guard comes over and kind of taps it with his sword. And boy, is it brutal.
Yeah,
it's pretty gnarly.
Rough.
It's pretty gnarly.
And I made this super humane joke about how if Hulk Hogan was there, they would never freeze those 24-inch pythons.
You can't.
Because you can't.
Well,
he would just brother flex out of it, and
I want to propose a movie to you guys, an escape movie with Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage. The Undertaker is the big scary experiment that they're keeping in the basement, and Macho Man and Hulk have to break out of Unit 731. They convince the Undertaker to turn sides and work with them, and then for the last 40 minutes of the movie, it's just them decimating everyone as they make their escape.
I love that.
A bunch of Japanese generals getting choke slammed and power bombed.
Yes.
Leg drop through tables.
Yeah, there's a lot of chunky American guitar riffs. Wow.
Yeah.
It's the NWO theme song.
Now we do get to. Nick is right when he says that the movie lulls you into a false sense of security because we do get more of these quieter moments. This is kind of like, I guess it is nothing like the beginning of Salo, but where the real horror doesn't start till about a half an hour in. But there's a lot of stuff.
You're getting to know those youth kids, that core of kids that show up.
Right, and their trainers force them to crawl through the snow, which I made a point when I was watching it that this at some point doesn't feel unlike certain like Navy SEAL training that we do for people who are in their late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
But these are kids.
Yeah, they're much younger than that.
However, I don't
the mute boy at.
Oh, the kid that hangs out and waves at them from behind enemy lines?
Yeah, the little mute Chinese boy. I think that's when they meet him, is in that first 30-minute chunk. They kind of see him and sort of befriend him. But he's always kind of hanging out on the other side of the fence, like...
I truly didn't understand his relation to the rest of the movie.
I think he was just a local Chinese kid that was hanging out in the woods, and then he saw that base... and was like, "Oh, cool, soldier people," because he's a fucking kid.
Kid's my age.
Yeah,
and he becomes an experiment.
Later on, he does, yes.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. All right. Well, look, I just want to make a point real quick before we move on to the next horrible atrocity that if either of you talk shit about my water purifier, I'm going to make you drink it.
Oh man, that might be my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
Because Brandon sent that message in the chat. I didn't think this would have anything in common with Waterworld. I was like, fuck yeah, I thought the same thing. He gets the guy. Because, see, I was wondering, because since honor and all of that is such a big thing in Japan, I was like, is he going to make him drink it? Is he going to drink it? How's this going to work out? Because one of the army people had talked shit on the main bad guy. His name's Ishii, right? And had ridiculed his water filter. So he comes out, puts the thing down, and he makes the guy pee in it. And the guy pees in it, and then Ishii picks up the cup and he starts drinking it. And he keeps eye contact with that guy the whole time.
It's
every drop. Such a flex move.
Yo.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's the
like,
ultimate flex.
He's like,
talk
fucking,
about a power move.
Yeah,
watch me.
right?
Watch me do this. Are you watching? I know you're watching me because I'm watching you watch me, bitch. And he just, every drop of it right down.
Oh, yeah.
Like, man, this guy's hard.
That's actually one of the best scenes in the movie.
I think so too.
I'll tread lightly when I say this is an amazing piece of filmmaking in this area, but that scene is extremely well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really sets a tone.
Well, it's interesting because the scenes that break up the brutality going on in this movie are not bad scenes. They're actually very good.
I think we'll get to that at the end when we go through our reflect, because I have a lot to say on that side of the movie, as far as whether it's art and whether it's good and whether we recommend it and stuff. So. Well, I think we'll get there.
Yeah.
Before we move away from the frozen arm lady, we're not done with her.
No,
of course not.
Not by a damn sight. No.
She's
nice
had it
reference
easy
drop
so far.
And Brandon? What happens next?
So
I want to believe it's a clickbait article. This woman's arms was frozen for this amount of time. You won't believe what happens next, and you keep just want to know.
So
then it talks about the science of freezing. It's like, just go stop. Like, just tell me what happens.
So we cut back to this woman, and they are just really hammering on her arms hard with those swords. And then they take her off. They walk her away, and you're like, "Oh, is that it? Are they done?
Are they mercifully finished with her?"
Yeah. And they lead her into this laboratory, and they put her in front of a kind of like a big metal trough full of warm water, and they put her arms in the warm water for 30 seconds, a minute maybe.
Mm-hmm.
They take it up, and the scientist just completely rips everything off of her arms.
Yep.
Down to the bone.
Degloved. I was about to say, that is the term, all the way to the bone.
And it is brutal.
Rough.
It's because the movie creates this feeling of reality. Like this stuff in this movie feels real.
Because
even though your brain is saying, well, it's a movie, it's not, it's all special effects, but it is so brutal.
Well, but even the effects, some of them, in particular this one, I didn't feel this looked realistic at all. Because you could kind of see her arms at her side, and then the fake arms were out front, just kind of puppeting around.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, that doesn't look super real, but since it creates such a tone of realism, you're still like, oh god, like fuck. What is this?
And just the complete matter-of-factness of it. Like there's no it's all one shot. And there's no drama to it. There's nothing to it. He just goes over and rips her arm meat off. and it's like he's filing papers.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, the Umbrella Corps had a lot to do.
Yeah.
Okay? We don't get our T-virus by just fucking around. We get our T-virus by chewing our apples and spitting them out to eliminate germs from our oral cavity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to make a nemesis, you got to break some eggs, bro.
You piece of shit. I was going to say that same exact thing. God damn it.
It's fine because we get a jaunty snowball fight later in the film, and it very much breaks up. Well, at least I thought it. No, I mean,
does it really?
I mean, we're really hung up on making a 60 times more effective bubonic plague.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
It's
right around this time in the movie. If you're wondering why can't these guys talk about this movie linearly, it's because it's kind of a hard movie to discuss in that way. Going beat by beat would be kind of, I don't know.
We say that about a lot of our movies, though. And
I think it's just because we're lazy.
No, I think it's particularly true with this one because it's a lot of vignettes. Like, the experiments are almost like set pieces, and the story is really between them. You probably could have taken out all of the experiments and the gore, and it still would have had a plot in a movie.
Sure.
These are just kind of like windows into what they were doing.
I can't even remember.
I was just gonna say, right as we're getting through the movie and we're going through experiments, we're actually watching the general kind of go a little bit more crazy because he has this moment of clarity after he yanks this woman's underarm hair out and she moves because that shit hurts and breaks the porcelain, and he realizes, I'm gonna make a low-temperature porcelain bacterial bomb, which, by the way, he plays a real dick move on everyone on base by throwing these, what are they, saucers or plates up into the rafters,
like teacup saucers.
And they shatter, and he's like, look, it's my low-temperature porcelain bacterial bomb. Dead silence until one guy starts clapping. Then everyone gets the hint that we all better keep clapping.
He gets the Rudy slow clap.
Well, yeah, but it's shot with it's interspersed with close-ups of all their faces, and you can see that they're like, this is insane, but we're going to keep clapping because none of us want to end up in the field of crucifixes.
Yeah.
Right. And that scene was pretty interesting to me, talking about like these non-torture scenes being pretty good, is after he throws them up into the rafters and kind of all the shards rain down, he tells the people that were hit to raise their hands, and that's what kind of like confirms his theory that if we shoot these up, these theoretical bombs are gonna kill this amount of people on a global scale.
Right, because their big problem was the metal version was getting too hot because they were putting a bubonic plague into fleas, and the metal casings would get too hot and kill the fleas. So the ceramic ones theoretically wouldn't get as hot, and the fleas would survive to spread the plague.
We from the mass spreading bacterial bomb, we're treated to Field of Crucifixion, which is basically
we skipped a fair amount, didn't we? Because we go from the arm lady to some other stuff, right? What's the experiment after the arm lady?
There's a guy with his hands. It's kind of in the same room as the arm lady.
Oh yeah, you're right.
He has his hands in these like tubes, and he brings them out, and those are frozen too. So I guess they're doing some kind of arm freezing experiment.
Yeah, they're doing it at different temperatures because hers were at a certain temperature and then put into warm water, and then the other guy, his arms were straight up sub-zeroed.
I was just about to say that. Is this a sleeper Sub-Zero origin movie?
It could be. Should be.
I actually forgot about this one.
Yeah, his arms are frozen solid, and then they just start banging his hands with a hammer.
Do you guys think you'd even feel it at that point?
No, and that's more fucked up. Because he was looking at it, he was watching his hands be smashed to pieces and screaming because he's like, that's permanent. Like, that's like, you're watching that happen and you're like, there's no going back from this.
what's a little more disturbing about that is like the first 2 or 3 hits, he doesn't really flinch or make a noise.
Yeah.
And then it seems like he realizes, oh, those are my hands, and then that's when he starts screaming.
Yeah.
I think the one that got me the most is are they torturing this guy with like a sound chamber? Are they torturing him
It's
with
a decompression chamber.
Oh, okay. I could not figure that out, but that one is the one that got me. That's the one that got me.
That was the one I saw before out of context.
Yikes.
Yeah. I hadn't seen any of them out of context, honestly. This is gonna sound weird. None of them really got to me. The movie didn't really affect me the way I was expecting it to.
You're showing your hand early.
I'm just saying in general, because I think we all went in with this kind of sense of dread, and just it didn't those I was expecting for the decompression scene to be worse than it was. Or
hold on. I'm going to get the notebook out of the cool guy tally. I'm going to go ahead and mark one under Nick's name.
Thank you.
Cool guy. Yeah.
That's what I was going for. So, we'll save that till the end. Our thoughts.
It's that part's interesting because I think this definitely could be a movie to some people that is like so like, oh, it's that movie. That movie's crazy. And then they watch it, and it's like, I mean, I guess, it's
that was
intense,
me.
But
to be perfectly honest, like it's like
Nick,
there's
we get it.
Stuff.
You're popping the collar on your leather jacket. You put your sunglasses on inside. You have leather gloves with the fingers missing. We get it. You're riding a hog, baby.
See, I thought you were going to say leather gloves with the rhinestones on it, because in my head, that's cool, not the fingerless gloves, but I'm a different breed.
It's kind of like how different breed. It's kind of like how some people get Texas Chainsaw Massacre built up in their head.
Yeah.
Like, it's so scary. It's so scary. Then they watch it, and it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is a great movie, but it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Right.
And some people are like, well, what's the big deal? This isn't scary.
Yeah. I had that exact interaction with it when I first saw it growing up because I was banned from watching Texas Chainsaw. And then when I finally saw it, I'd already seen way worse stuff. And it didn't have that same effect on me. I have developed a huge love and appreciation for that movie the older I get. Yeah. But at the time, it wasn't particularly disturbing. But I just want to, I have something kind of important to say that Nick Rock, A Different Kind of Breed, is the name of your music/comedy album.
All right. No, I always said if I had a stand-up comedy album, it was going to be called That Boy Needs Therapy from the Avalanche song. But I don't know. I do kind of like that one.
That'll be the follow-up.
Yeah, that'll be the follow-up. That'll be my Netflix special.
Yeah, where the thumbnail is you going like shrugging, like, I don't know. This is just what I have to say.
These are just my thoughts. Guess I'm a different breed.
Oh, ew.
His follow-up, Bad Boy Alley, didn't do as well.
No.
Or
it got too edgy.
It's you opening your head and a bunch of expletives are popping out of your head.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So it's basically like that Jeff Dunham promo photo where there's stuff coming out of his head, but it's Nick, and it's Nick with a bunch of like curse words.
Where his mouth is blocked out by like a bunch of exclamation points.
Yeah.
Oh, because you won't believe what he has to say this time.
I have a big thing of duct tape across my mouth, and it says different breed on it.
Oh, gross.
Oh, man. Yeah, the controversial voice of Jeff Dunham.
There's a centerpiece.
It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
No, you go. Okay, you go.
Yeah, you go.
You hang up first. We're doing this over Zoom because of the pandemic, and so that explains that.
Yeah.
If anyone doesn't know who Jeff Dunham is, don't bother. He's awful.
Yeah, he's terrible. He's the worst.
He's racist. He's a racist. He's a racist ventriloquist.
Don't say that, because that would make me want to look them up. If someone said racist ventriloquist,
He
I'd be
does
like,
not represent
"That's
Anthony
great."
Hopkins and magic. He also does not
No.
represent the Batman villain, the ventriloquist.
The
Nope.
ventriloquist. When
He's
are we going to get
definitely not racist.
When are we going to get the ventriloquist in a movie?
Around the same time we get the Clock King in a movie.
Oh, God.
Ventriloquist better than Clock King. Come on now. Come on.
I mean, I put them and
Oh,
Mad Hatter in the
yeah.
same boat of forgettable Batman villains.
Really?
Yeah.
I think ventriloquist is a tier above them. No?
Mad Hatter and ventriloquist are definitely on the same level of silly Batman villain. I enjoy them, but they are on the same level of silly.
I just wish his puppet wasn't a snappy mobster and was something a little more interesting.
I don't know.
Unless
for the sky.
Yeah, see, exactly.
And how he pronounces all of his B's is G's, so it's always Gatman.
Oh, that's right.
All of his B's are G's.
I've made a turn on ventriloquist, you guys. I don't like him anymore.
Would you like him more if
that
storyline
build up in Cataclysm is if what?
If the dummy were just a Fat Tony dummy,
Yeah,
and also voiced by Joe Montana.
of course.
Okay, just checking.
All right.
There's a centerpiece.
We're so on track with this.
There's a centerpiece kind of experiment that I think a lot of people talk about, which is the autopsy scene of, well, it's not an autopsy. They ask one of the younger guys to get them, what is it, a young boy, because they need
the mute Chinese boy that they had been they befriended earlier in the film,
because they don't tell him this, but what they need are live organs from a boy finally hitting puberty, right? And so they put this kid to sleep after pulling his pants down as a joke, and I was like, I don't want this.
I think the boy dick was the most upsetting thing in the movie to me.
I think I might be in agreement with you.
You get full-on extended little boy penis.
We get it, Brandon. I mean, did you have to say it in so many words?
Yes, I did.
He just has to drive it home that's
I'm glad your new girlfriend listens to this.
Yes.
Oh, she won't.
She won't be happy about that.
Yeah.
They basically perform a live... They basically take this kid's organs out while he's alive, and obviously he dies in the process. But there's the production of this is actually interesting because Moo was talking with the local police department, and he was like, where can we get a body? And they're like, we don't have one. And then it so happened that a young man around the same age as that boy, who also looked a lot like that boy, died. And so the police department called and said, hey, we have this. And they discussed it with the family. So he dressed up the coroners, I believe, as the doctors. And it's intershot with the fake body and the real body. And it's pretty seamless, I think, which the real body and what isn't. And this is what I'm getting from the documentary Black Sunshine. This is where I'm getting this information from. Shout out to Black Sunshine. But Moo was actually saying that they did like a full, they peeled the entire face back, but he was like, even I couldn't show that.
I was just going to say in the chat, this is the one where Brandon sent out the text, well, I found my limit. Now it's time for a porch sit down.
This is the one that I feel like this movie gets a reputation for being like crazy and dangerous, but it was good to hear that the director got permission and he went through the right channels to get a cadaver and all that. But they're like, as they're cutting and the close-ups of the carcass versus the live boy's face, and there's a shot where they're pulling a live beating heart out of the cadaver or something.
I believe it's a cow heart.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's just something about that just freaked me out. And I had to step away for a second.
It's super visceral, and I sat there and I watched every single minute of it.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me get out the notebook and the cool guy column. There we go. Anthony. Okay, we're all up to date. We're all up to date.
All right, cool. Good. Thank you. Thank you. I want to point this out. There's the guy who works in the crematorium whose job it is to hack up the bodies and throw them away. And I
He is my.
120%.
Go ahead.
Well, I know this is where Eli Roth got that from for the Hostel movies, because there's a character that does that carts off the body parts and throws
I
them
didn't even think of
in
that.
an
Oh
incinerator.
yeah.
I
But
didn't even think of that.
and I said that out loud to my girlfriend, and she was like, "What are you talking about?" And I went, "Yeah, that makes sense. That's the right response
Yeah.
to me ruminating
That's
on the
on
films of
brand.
Eli Roth."
Yeah.
But I
that
wanted
guy
to
is,
point.
like, my
Shut up, Nick.
favorite character.
I wanted to point out that not only did they get that body from the police station, the coroner's office, a lot of the body parts, the dismembered body parts that you see in this film, are real, because they've gotten them from schools or the morgue, which I definitely think lends itself to a lot of the visceral feelings that Brandon is feeling, because some of it is real, but the filmmaking in a lot of ways is pretty seamless to where you don't know where those transitions are, I feel.
Right. Especially in that autopsy footage, like knowing it's a cadaver, you can tell when they cut to the cadaver, but it feels real.
It's a very effective scene. And even though the cat is not actually killed, that scene is very hard to watch too. And I want to ask you this question, Nick. Did you watch that scene?
Oh, am I out of shut up jail now?
Oh, really?
Am I out? Am I free? Okay.
Yeah, hold on. Let me get the key.
Erase my mark out of the cool guy column because I was a bitch and had to make a statement about shutting up. So now I don't have my cool point.
I'm sorry, marks don't get erased.
Yeah, you can
Okay,
only
that's not
add to your cool guy points, you fucking baby.
Those points are pen. Sharpie.
Friday night recording!
You're out of cool guy jail.
Okay. But no, I did want to make a quick note on that corner guy dancing and singing while he saw that. That guy stuck out in my mind super hard throughout the movie. Because, it's like, I don't know if he went insane or if he was insane and that's why he got the job, but he's just having a blast doing what he's doing. And I thought that was an interesting character choice.
That guy, I'd wager, is the most dangerous character in the movie.
Yes.
Because everyone else is just doing this quote-unquote following orders. But that guy loves what he's doing.
That's his job. Hey, look, man, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
I was just about to say that, just like Brandon was about to say the thing I said. We're all on the same wavelength.
You guys, we all have the shining. Aww.
We're sinking. We're
in such sync, you guys. I love you.
So
live, laugh, love, repeat.
The cat. I did watch the scene because there were people that said that it was real, and there were people that said that it wasn't. And there seemed to be a lot of debate on it.
Sure.
The last thing that I read was from Moo saying it was not really killed, that he was very tired after the scene, he was rewarded with 2 full fish, and that he was in fact a very good boy. So I watched the scene, and that is not real. Like, I know what a cat looks like when it's in distress. I don't think it was in distress. Like,
that cat looks like it's just having a time. Yeah.
He was like thrown into a pit of cat toys. He's rolling around on his back and he's grabbing some of them, and some of those rats definitely got fucked. But the cat, no, you could tell. And
and that's the thing. Like,
it was like the autopsy, the editing, the way that they cut it together was really smart and really effective. Yeah,
and when you get the close-up shots of the cat's face, I'm like, our cats make that same face when I'm giving them belly scritches.
Right.
So yeah.
He was just rolling around. He grabs some of them, and then it would cut, and it would cut back, and he'd have a little bit more red on him. But the red was obviously not blood. It was too bright. Yeah. It was like a honey mixture, so the rats would lick it. And that's how they did the scene. And I'm sure the cat may have gotten nipped once or twice and probably was a little stressed out by the end of it. But that cat did not die. And I don't know why that rumor got started. Maybe because people had heard that they used an actual body. So they're like, well, if they're going to fucking cut up an actual body, then they wouldn't think twice about killing a cat, because there are people that think that way.
Right.
But it's a very different thing.
Well, it's the same thing with Cannibal Holocaust, how they had to go to court to prove that they didn't actually kill those actors.
Right.
Although, unfortunately, Cannibal Holocaust film I will still not watch because of the turtle. So
Yeah. I mean, they actually killed the animals. They went to court to prove the people were alive, but those animals, fuck them. So no, I'm not a fan of that one.
I don't think we've actually brought up the fact that they have a rat pit.
Yeah, we haven't.
Like I think that was their way of kind of harvesting the plague.
Mm-hmm.
They just have this big kind of
pit of
room
plague rats.
Of plague rats.
Well, it's important to the B plot too, or the A plot as Nick called it, because when the kids find out, when the rest of the youth corps finds out that their commander basically is the one that signed off on bringing the kid from outside in to do the autopsy on, they straight mutiny his ass.
Oh, yeah, that was real satisfying.
They throw on their delousing outfits or whatever, their biohazard outfits, and they beat the fuck out of him in the sauna, which is echoing the scene from the beginning of the movie where he forces them to beat up a guy in the bathtub. And I actually really like that juxtaposition.
Maruda, as they call them.
Correct. Yeah, it was this whole scene where there's all these Chinese prisoners in kind of this pool. The general gets one out and stands him naked in front of all these child soldiers, and he keeps asking, "What is this?" And the kids say, he's a man, and the general or the guy smacks him, and he asks again, "What is this?" And someone says, "Chinese man," and he gets smacked again. And he says, "This is a Maruda. This is not a human being. This is a thing. It's basically telling him
Maruda is, I believe, Chinese or Japanese for log. So they used to call them. That's what they would call them, Maruda, because they were cutting logs.
Right. They were basically these are hardware. These are parts.
Yeah. Right.
There's a lot of kids slapping in this movie.
Yeah, there is. Slapping. No problem with that. There was apparently a comic book recently that it's a popular one too, and I can't remember what it is. But one of the main villains was called Dr. Maruda, and they called him that because of 731, and that they used that term for the logs that they were cutting down.
That's interesting.
He named the character Maruda, and he got major backlash for it. Like they had to change the character's name in the comic.
Why?
Because people thought it was insensitive to what had happened in 731. Which I think it's just kind of an interesting reference to history. I don't think it's necessarily insensitive, especially because the guy was a bad guy.
I mean, again, that's what I was going to say. If that's your villain, then that makes sense.
Yeah, that tracks.
Nobody's like, hey, it's the hero, Dr. Maruda.
Yeah.
Now let's open up these fucking kids.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's the hero, Johnny Hitler.
Yeah. Right.
Oh man, that's Brandon's alternate history comic, Johnny Hitler, where Hitler's
the good guy.
Hitler's basically having his own Easy Rider finding himself moment where he's driving across the US on a hog.
Yep.
And then he gets beat to death in the woods by rednecks.
Yeah.
I could sell that to IDW.
Exactly. Hello, I've come here to have und barbecue the chicken. And then
I have come here in this summer of love to find myself.
I will be taking acid in graveyard. Yes.
Yeah. I heard God. Aside from being, obviously a vile human being, I just heard Hitler was an insufferable hipster.
Yeah. So I could see that. Hear that, all you hipsters? You're close.
You're like Hitler.
Whoa, that does not track.
So Hitler listened to a lot of Arcade Fire.
Yeah.
Hit a lot of Arcade Fire. He got a lot of Doppio espressos and Americanos.
Mhm.
He's really
Mhm.
into cafes that are 50% coffee shop, 50% plant store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything
He
Yeah.
is
listens
white.
to a lot of bands you probably haven't heard of. Kicks around Portland a lot. You know, just
Has a
Yeah.
fatty top knot.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Hitler with a man bun.
Instead of that mustache, he has one on his head.
Yeah. Hitler stash on his forehead.
Then he just looks like that kid from Avatar, the cartoon.
Yeah.
Oh, that show that I will never watch.
Me
Nope. You can't
either.
make me.
Me
No,
either.
hey.
No, I'm good.
We're
I'm
sinking
good.
again.
We're
That's good.
sinking.
So there's a little
We're
bit.
sinking him.
Go ahead. Sink
I
it.
was just gonna. We're sinking in both senses of that word.
Oh, it's true. All right,
Yay.
we're running a little long, and so I'm gonna break it down. Basically, they get word, and correct me because I can't remember exactly what the word is, but they have to shut down Unit 731. So the general says, "Burn it all. We're gonna burn it all, and everyone has to kill their families and themselves." And everyone in the room is like, "No, we're not doing that." The general's guy manages to talk him out of it. They basically are trying to, destroying all the data, getting rid of stuff. One of the doctors who was working, it was like his life's work is the data. He gets shot because he doesn't want him to destroy it. The kid that was working
falls on that fire.
Oh yeah, it's pretty gnarly. The kid that was working with Specs almost makes it out when they are leaving, but when the general comes out to make his speech, he's like, "Who's that?" And the guy goes, "I don't know who that is. He's just some kid." And the kid tries to rush the general, and he gets killed. Basically, gets killed with a fucking flagpole with the Japanese flag attached to it.
Like
the climax of Chronicle, where they just sticks him in the neck with that pole.
Yep. And the movie kind of ends with credits going over a still shot of them just kind of all standing around.
Yeah, so basically the generals or the people that were working at 731 kind of get on a train and they're like, "Hey, you can't talk about this ever. Like it never happened. Get on this train, get out of here." And they kill that guy, some blood gets on the Japanese flag. It's very symbolic. And then there's
cool shot.
Yeah, it was a cool shot. And then there was some text that scrolled that was all in Japanese. I don't know what it said. But I looked up, or I guess it would be Chinese. It's a Chinese movie. I looked up Ishii Came to America, and the guy who was running 731, he was pardoned for war crimes by giving over the data to the Americans. So not only was he like, burn it all to the ground and kill yourselves, nobody can ever find this shit out. And then they capture him. He's like, well, you can know this shit if I'm allowed to live. Because fucking of course. And then he didn't grow super old, but he didn't die in war. He died of cancer in like
the internal war.
Yeah, the internal war. And he died somewhere in China, and it was just like, okay. He did all this awful shit, and then he's like, well, I'll give you secrets so you won't kill me, like Project Paperclip and shit.
Yep. If nothing else you learn from this movie, it's monsters can live long, healthy lives.
Yeah. And more often than not, they do.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
So I'm looking at two of them right now.
Okay. Well, Brandon, we've been friends for a long time. You're complicit in a lot of things too. So.
Nope. I'm my hands are clean, baby.
That is such a lie. That is such a lie. Okay, so let's kind of discuss this. Do you think this movie has any merit, Nick?
Absolutely. I think hesitantly that this is a good movie. It's a good historical film. You learn stuff from it about atrocities that happened. The acting's good. I would even go so far as to say it's a really good movie. Then it loses a lot of its credibility with some of the more exploitive violence that happens. Because when you do that, you wind up with these movies that have these reputations that people aren't going to watch. And I get what Moo was trying to do. He was trying to show how extreme and how visceral and violent and real these things were. But when it also it has to be somewhat palatable. Like, it has to be a movie you can learn from it, and it can be educational, but you still kind of want people to like your movie, right? Am I wrong?
Are you asking? Because I have an answer for that. Are you asking?
Yeah, what do you think? Yeah.
No, I don't need
No?
everybody to like my movie.
Not everybody, but generally you make movies for people to watch. I watched this movie once, and I will probably never watch this movie again, even though I think it is a legitimately well-made, good movie. And I watched movies that I think are bad movies more than once.
Yeah, you have more than once forced Funny Man on me. So yes,
I have, and I will do it again.
And that is a worse... I think Funny Man is a more atrocious movie than Men Behind the Sun. There, I fucking said it.
We're going to do that for this show at some point. It will happen.
God, I hate Funny Man.
I didn't want to watch this, and you fuckers made me.
All right, same question to Brandon.
What was the question? I got lost in the conversation.
Does this movie have merit?
Yeah, I think it absolutely has merit. I think it is legitimately saying something. And I think, unfortunately, it's gotten kind of co-opted by internet edgelords, like a lot of these types of movies do, just for the sheer brutality of it without caring or looking into what it's about. Going into this movie, I was curious to see how much of it felt like it was actually trying to say something about these events and what was happening versus just a series of horrible human suffering. And while it is a series of human suffering, it never felt like a horror movie to me, a quote unquote horror movie. It felt like it was absolutely horrific, but it felt like it always it was saying something with everything it was doing.
I agree with that completely. I think what you said about it not feeling like a horror movie, that's an important thing to get across. The violence is extreme. I personally don't feel like it's exploitive. And they call it an exploitation movie. I don't know if I agree with that assessment. I don't know if the violence is exploitive. It is extreme.
Well, I'm going to wrap that into my answer to my own question. I do believe this movie has a lot of merit. I think it's an important film about something that happened to... I think it's an important aspect of Chinese and Japanese history, although terrible and horrific. I think that Moo was absolutely trying to say something about the horrors of war and not just trying to cash in on awful scene after awful scene after awful scene. Now, here's the thing. I don't personally feel like these scenes are exploitive, but I'm also not of Chinese descent, and I don't know how somebody who is of Chinese descent might interpret that when that is your own lineage, right? So for me personally, no, I don't think it's exploitive. If somebody had that opinion, then I'm not going to argue with them about it. But I do think that this is a well-made film with horrible things in it. And I'm absolutely in agreement with Brandon that it never once felt like a horror film. So I am on board with this movie.
Yeah,
No.
it's a very well made, for lack of a better word, interesting and effective movie that I'm never going to watch again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's extremely effective. I think the editing in particular should be commented on because it's extremely well edited.
Yeah.
Especially those graphic scenes. They blend those seamlessly with the realism of it and how it's cut, and it's very well put together.
And if you guys get a chance to watch Black Sunshine, the documentary, and that's basically a long interview with Moo talking about his films, he is very passionate about what he does, and he's not a gross fucking edgelord. He's not a guy who gets off on violence. He's more of a filmmaker who wants to expose you to these horrors of real life, and he's not trying to hide. He's not trying to hide history, and I think that's important for any artist to do.
Yeah, this movie feels a lot in the same vein to me as Salo, where they're
Yes.
both pretty much saying the same thing with the same tools, and they're both they both are used the same way, where it's like, look at this fucked up movie, man, this is crazy, but also they're saying something beyond that.
Agreed.
And I think that sucks that they get co-opted that way because
I
I've never
agree.
seen Salo. I had no interest in seeing Salo, but just hearing the comparisons with this, I might watch Salo because I'm glad I watched Men Behind the Sun. And I never in my life thought I would say that based on everything I've ever heard about it. I never thought I would be glad that I saw it, but it's an important movie.
Quick fire
I
round.
think.
I'll go first. Was this movie as bad as I expected? No. Nick? No, right?
No?
Brandon?
Bad as in
Did
horribleness?
the film
Violence.
live up to the dread that you had going into it?
A little bit.
Okay.
Because I had seen that depressurization chamber scene out of context,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just a series of little anticipations between those scenes.
Because I know all of us had heavy dread going into it.
Oh, yeah.
Because of what we had all heard and the little still frames we had seen and stuff. I thought the decompression scene was gonna be worse. Like I had already heard, I had read a description of it, so I knew what happened more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it happened, I was kind of like, oh, but all right. Like I was expecting more than it was. Not that I wanted more, but
I feel like that is the difference though between what this movie does and it feeling like a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because
yes.
if it was like blood coming out of his eyes and like him turning into a skeleton and
right, and that's
that.
what I was expecting.
Yeah, but this is relatively simple. It's
not a lot
disgusting.
of blood,
right?
But it's almost worse in its mundanity.
It doesn't glamorize the gore.
Right.
Right.
All right, so Brandon, this was your pick, and as we did to Nick, I'm going to ask you to explain yourself.
Yeah.
Well,
real quick, I want to ask something real quick because we didn't do it. Would you recommend it? Because that's an interesting question that I think would be important to answer. Because we used to do that. I don't know if we're doing that format exactly. This movie, I'm actually interested. Would you guys recommend this to people? Brandon, you go.
I think that's, for me, that's a little more, I can't answer that with a yes or no. Because it's absolutely a case-by-case basis. Like, if my parents come and say, hey, recommend us a movie, never in a million years am I going to recommend this movie.
It's like when your mom shared our Legend of the Overfiend episode on Facebook.
Yep. Hey,
don't know why she did
friends. That. Yeah, hey, all you family friends, this is what I'm doing now.
Well, yeah, I was just saying, okay, all you cool cats, kittens.
Oh God.
Want to listen to little Brandon talk about some tentacle rape?
Yeah, it's kind of a cop out answer, but I think it's a case by case basis.
Okay, Anthony.
Depends on who's asking.
Yeah.
I would
So
recommend
that's
this.
the round the table is case by case.
I would recommend it to you guys, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, hey, Uncle Jay, let's barbecue some burgers, get some brewskis, sit down, and watch a little Men Behind the Sun.
Right.
It's a World War II movie. You'll love it.
It's weird because the first person I would think of to recommend the movie to would be Megan. And I know she wouldn't like it in the traditional sense, but she's a history person. I think I would recommend this movie not so much to cinema buffs, but to history people. People that are really into world history. Like, this is a good history lesson.
I actually would recommend this more to film people because
think?
I think that there's a lot of folks who understand cinema that is trying to also send a political message.
Okay.
Also, it's one of those real sweet movies to whip out when someone's being a real pretentious asshole about, oh man, Saw's so brutal.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All the cannibal holocausters can just
Yeah.
sit down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy this one.
So, Brandon,
Yeah.
explain
No,
yourself.
it's Brandon. Explain yourself time.
I in the spirit of what are we calling this? Extreme-O-Ween?
Extreme-O-Ween! Extreme-O-Ween!
Extreme-O-Ween. In the spirit of Extreme-O-Ween, this is a movie that I've heard about. I had seen, like I said, that one scene out of context, and it seemed like a good choice for in the spirit of the holiday. And
The spirit of the horror holiday, we'll see some real world horror.
Yeah, I think this, in the spirit of Extreme-O-Ween, it's not to play it safe, is to watch movies that are going to make us uncomfortable and are gross and are intense. So I think this was a good choice to kick it off.
Get out of your safe zones. You sheeple.
Bro.
Oh, can you add 2 more marks to Nick's cool guy card?
Oh yeah, hold on.
Because I ridiculed safe zones and used sheeple in the same sentence.
Yeah,
So that's
get
2.
it out. Hold on, there's 1 and
Now, are
2.
you
Okay.
are you simultaneously talking to us and posting on Reddit?
Yeah. I'm not going to say what my handle is, though, because I will
Nick.
get it on watch lists and in
Nick.
trouble.
Nick,
Yes.
this is an important question.
Right.
Are you Q?
Anon?
Can't answer.
QAnon?
I can't answer.
QAnon? All right.
Pizzagate's real, bro.
I see your V for Vendetta mask sticking out from between 2 jackets.
Will we answer the cliffhanger of is Nick QAnon at the end of Extreme-O-Ween? Stay tuned. You'll find out.
The
All
answer
right.
will be spooky.
So that's kind of a unanimous yes, we all liked it, and we'd recommend it to specific types of folks that are looking for a certain film experience.
Appreciated, not liked. Like sounds like I enjoyed that experience that we just all went through, and I don't know if that's quite right.
Okay, well, we're splitting hairs, and I know that people listen. You want to make sure that everybody knows that Nick didn't love Men Behind the Sun.
Right.
You don't.
Nick,
You're
give me
not
another
currently
mark
getting
on the thing.
You're not currently
gonna
getting
run out of
Unit
pages.
731 tattooed on your pelvis. We get it. Okay, we fucking know.
With an arrow pointing down.
All right, well, let's keep for Extreme-O-Ween. Let's keep the next movie a secret. And we're just going to show up one day and say, here, we watched this.
We
And,
watched this crime against humanity.
well, hey,
Enjoy.
you can't say that this is an important movie that is also a crime against humanity. Okay? So you just relax.
Well, I could say it's an important film that was full of crimes against humanity.
That's fair. but that's not the way you phrased it, friend.
Another mark.
You guys.
No, you
Yeah,
can't
I
ask for
got it,
your
I
own
got it.
cool guy marks.
You guys stop fighting. This is not in the spirit of Extreme-O-Ween. We have
I
to
would say
what
it's
like the pink slime in Ghostbusters 2. It's turning us against each other. We cannot let
Yes.
Extreme-O-Ween win.
Ooh, I want
No.
Extreme-O-Ween to turn me into Janusz so I can fly around dressed as an old lady.
Nope. See, that's the wrong attitude to have about Extreme-O-Ween. We're never going to make it through with that attitude.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're going to be
fine.
flying all over the place with people's babies.
Yeah,
We'll never get anything done.
just as a nanny.
All right. Until the next episode, I've been Anthony, forever dead inside Trevino. You can find me on Instagram as Pretty Little Garbage Pail, but the E in pretty is a 3 because I'm a cool guy.
Because it's 2001 and people got to know where you're at on the internet.
Brandon will never make me feel like such. I
No,
never don't feel like a total asshole when I do that when Brandon's around. His eyes just tell me how he feels about me. See, he's doing it right now.
Brandon, you got to give him a mark because he has the number in the word like 7, and 7
That's true.
is like,
That's
you know,
true.
that's,
Oh, shit.
that's like an extreme
Yeah,
thing.
Mark.
I didn't even think of
Yeah,
that,
Mark.
Nick. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't only look out for my own points. This episode I was Nick Pet Rock. You can find me on Instagram at Nick Rock Lobster.
I like that you said in this episode I was Nick Pet Rock as if that were a
Yeah.
character you played the entire episode.
Yep. It was.
Nick Pet
That's
Rock.
how I'm doing this from now on. Every episode I'm playing a different character with a different name. You'll find they're surprisingly similar.
I am Brandon Talking Pie Freese, and you can find me on Instagram at Brandon_Freese. I got it, you other Brandon Freeses. Suck it.
Yeah. All right. Welcome to Extreme-O-Ween, and we'll see you next
Yeah.
time.
I'm going to turn on the venom and fucking rock out.